Good evening. You're watching a special weekend edition of The Big Story. Just 5 more days until polling day. Hello, I'm Olivia Quay.
And I'm Dylan Ng. Subscribe to the Straits Times channel so you never miss a single episode.
National Development Minister Lawrence Wong refuted comments by the Singapore Democratic Party's chairman, Dr. Paul Tambaya. Now, Dr. Tambaya had said that the Covid-19 multi-ministry task force shouldn't have been front and center when the outbreak intensified in Singapore. Instead, it should have allowed health experts to overrule the committee.
Mr. Wong hit back, describing Dr. Tambaya's remarks as baseless and false allegations. Speaking at a press conference this morning, Mr. Wong said the task force has always relied on scientific evidence, as well as the advice of medical experts in coming up with decisions.
Medical experts are an integral part of our team. We involve them in all our deliberations, and every time Minister Gan Kim Yong and I do a press conference, we have the Director of Medical Services with us.
Mr. Wong also rebutted Dr. Tambaya's comments that the Manpower Ministry was to blame for a February advisory that asked employers not to get their workers tested. This advisory was issued after an infection at Seletar Aerospace Park.
It was not MUM that unilaterally issued the advisory. It was the doctors and medical experts that had requested MUM to put out the advisory to the employers. You know, I fully respect Professor Tambaya as a leading expert in his field, but it is very disappointing that he has deliberately chosen to distort the facts just to try and score some political points.
Manpower Minister Josephine Teo, who was out on a walkabout in Jalan Besar GRC, also explained why the advisory was needed. She said that the opposition has twisted the situation and that the Manpower Ministry had never said that those who were sick shouldn't get tested.
我们那个时候担心的是，如果呢健康的科工他们也大量的流到医院去看病，这样子是不是会影响到国人看病的这个事情？不可能，因为我们的医院一直在为完全是健康的科工在做测试，而影响到我们国人他们看病的这个过程，这个是不理想的。
PAP's Marine Parade candidate Dr. Tan Si Ling said that when one looks at factors like fatality rate and the number of ICU patients, the government has done its best.
Separately, Workers' Party's Leon Pereira said on Facebook that the party's manifesto has an entire chapter about tackling the pandemic, adding that WP has also held webinars with experts on the topic.
Progress Singapore Party Chief Dr. Tan Cheng Bock proposed a televised debate, him and Dr. Tambaya on one side facing off against Trade and Industry Minister Chan Chun Sing and Health Minister Gan Kim Yong.
But Dr. Tan declined to share what plans he would bring up if the debate takes place. He was responding to earlier remarks by Mr. Chan that the opposition has left out COVID-19 management from their manifestos and discussions.
136 new COVID-19 cases were reported today, including 18 in the community. These comprise 6 Singaporeans or permanent residents and 12 work pass holders.
5 of the community cases were close contacts of earlier cases and had already been placed on quarantine. There are also 7 imported cases, all of whom had been on stay-home notice since arriving in Singapore.
2 police reports have been made against Workers' Party candidate Raisa Khan over comments she allegedly made on discrimination by Singapore's law enforcement authorities. According to a police statement, Ms. Raisa had allegedly commented that Singapore law enforcement authorities discriminated against citizens and that compared to other groups, rich Chinese and white people were treated differently under the law.
In the context of an article about the City Harvest Church ruling, she allegedly posted that Singapore jailed minorities mercilessly and that authorities harassed mosque leaders but let corrupt church leaders free. If convicted of promoting enmity between different groups on grounds of religion or race under the Penal Code, she could face a jail term of up to 3 years. Police investigations are ongoing.
SDP confirmed that it's received a correction direction under the Protection from Online Falsehoods and Manipulation Act for their comments on Singapore's 10 million population issue.
On Saturday, the POFMA office issued the correction notice, to SGP, the People's Voice Party and 2 other Facebook pages. These over claims that HDB Chief Executive Dr. Cheong Koon Hian had suggested in 2018 that Singapore's population would increase to 10 million by 2030. SGP said it has complied with the order by placing the correction notice, but plans to apply to cancel the order.
With 3 days to cooling off day, there was no lack of action today as candidates from various parties continued to hit the streets. Multimedia journalist Kimberly Zhao shares some of the highlights from today's action.
It was a boisterous Sunday morning at Nee Soon GRC as candidates from the People's Action Party and Progress Singapore Party were out canvassing for votes. Retiring MP Lee Bee-wah, who will be replaced by newcomer Carrie Tan, was at Yishun Ring Road where she bade farewell to residents.
And I would like to take this opportunity to thank our residents in Eastern South for giving me the opportunity to serve them for the last 14 years. And in fact, I can never forget.
Also lending support to their Nee Soon GRC candidates were Progress Singapore Party's Dr. Tan Cheng Bock and Mr. Lee Hsien Yang. As expected, Sunday's campaigning saw political bigwigs joining candidates for a second day for weekend walkabouts. At Bukit Batok, Senior Minister Tharman Shanmugaratnam of Jurong GRC accompanied Mr. Murali Pillay, where they ran into Singapore Democratic Party Chief Dr. Chee Soon Juan.
You guys work hard. Thank you so much. Mr. Murali. Work hard. Let's work hard. And I want to tell Mr. Tharman that this is Bukit Batok and we are going to make Batokians the proudest Singaporeans here in the West.
Retiring political veterans Emeritus Senior Minister Goh Chok Tong and Mr. Loh Thia Kiang lent their star power to candidates in their old stomping ground at Marine Parade and Aljunied. In Punggol West, Workers' Party's Tan Chen Chen and PAP's Sun Xueling reached out to residents. But some like PAP's Tan Chuan Jin said it's too late to depend on 9 days of campaigning to sway votes.
You know, in the lead up, some people say, oh, take pictures of the MPs going around, why are they campaigning? If that is called campaigning, then I think all of us are guilty of campaigning since the last GE and those of us who came in earlier, Edwin and myself, 2011, and campaigning even before that. If you depend on your 9 days to sway votes, I think it's just way too late.
The hustings are not likely to let up as candidates are expected to ramp up their efforts for the remaining 3 days before cooling off day.
You can find more videos of on-the-ground action on the Straits Times YouTube channel. Now, we want to highlight 2 special features. Kimberly Zhao lays out the battle for Singapore's largest SMC, Bukit Panjang, between PAP's Liang Eng Hwa and SDP heavyweight Dr. Paul Tambaya.
And Rachel Quek investigates what's at stake for candidates as they take their campaigns online and how going digital will change Singapore's political landscape. There are links in the description below as well if you're watching us on YouTube.
Let's get news editor Zakir Hussain to weigh in on today's campaigning. Just yesterday, we heard PAP say the opposition lacked concrete COVID-19 plans. Then last night, SDP's Dr. Paul Tambaya responded with his own criticism of how the PAP ministers handled the situation.
Minister Lawrence Wong responded swiftly this morning to Dr. Tambaya's comments that the multi-ministry task force didn't rely on medical experts' advice in its work. But before we get into the discussion with Zakir, let's first replay what Mr. Wong said.
I fully respect Professor Tambaya as a leading expert in his field, but it is very disappointing that he has deliberately chosen to distort the facts just to try and score some political points.
Welcome, Zakir. Now, what do you make of the arguments, from both sides?
I think the arguments made by the SDP as well as several of the other opposition parties have been on the back of Singaporeans' minds, in a sense. And I think whichever side of the political fence they're on, the fact that the election comes even as COVID-19 is still a concern is at the back of the minds. But at the same time, what Minister Wong said, the facts are that the politicians have not been distracted by the election in handling COVID-19. The multi-ministry task force, yes, it's led by 2 ministers who are candidates themselves, but at the same time, they also rely quite heavily on medical experts. And the director of medical services, for instance, is fronting almost is at almost every press conference. And a lot of the work that's going on is actually handled by public servants at the same time. And I expect the SDP will have its comeback to this maybe this evening or tomorrow. And I think it's really that I think is one of the points that I think voters are trying to get around themselves as well. COVID is very much about, this election is very much about COVID and the government's response to it. And now that COVID is going to be with us for, I think, many more months, it's not an issue that will go away before polling day.
Right, well, Zakir, let's move on to another topic. We learned shortly before the show that WP candidate Raisa Khan is being investigated by the police for comments she made online. Do you have further insights on this?
I think one of the police release actually cited a couple of incidents of comments she made. The first, it seems, had to do with an issue which I think many people felt strongly about when a group of expatriates were not keeping in line with social distancing measures along Robertson Quay. The second incident to do with an article in the City Harvest Church ruling was actually made, I believe, 2 years ago in 2018. And this was done some time back. But I think the immediate public reaction has also been mixed. There's some people who, might not have made up their minds, who might feel that, maybe this isn't a candidate they want to back. But there are others who also feel that this is, seen as a politically motivated instance of police reports being lodged and so on.
Now, Zakir, you touched on this a little bit, but let's build on what you just said. Ms. Raisa is, of course, running in Sengkang GRC specifically, now which has been closely watched. How much would this affect Workers' Party's campaign there?
It remains to be seen, I think. Sengkang is a new GRC, but as we've seen, Sengkang West, two large former SMCs that are now part of this GRC have had strong contests with the Workers' Party in recent years. The Workers' Party has contested Sengkang West in the past 2 elections and gotten close to 40% of the votes. It held Punggol East for some time after the 2013 by-election. And on walkabouts, as well as on visits to the constituency, we see Workers' Party candidates, I think, getting a significant amount of support on the ground. But at the same time, the PAP team there is not a weak one, right? They've got a strong slate, Labour Chief Ng Chee Meng, 2 other office holders. And I think candidates, this is a contest that could be close, I think. And, it remains to be seen. I think what developments like today's do is they might, I think, give voters pause to again think seriously about their choices come polling day.
Right. Well, thank you as always for your time, Zak. We've been speaking to news editor at the Straits Times, Zakir Hussain.
During this election period, the Straits Times will be coming to you live 3 times a day with the latest GE 2020 developments. At 1 p.m, we have Editor's Take, a special lunchtime show where our editors offer their views on the hustings.
Then there's The Big Story at 5:30 p.m. and at 10 p.m, our special election show, GE 2020 Today, with Haryanto Daman and Michelle Martin. The Straits Times GE 2020 microsite will also keep you updated. Go to this link for our GE Live blog as well.
I'm Dylan Ang with Olivia Quay. Join us tomorrow for more stories on The Big Story.